Hi, it's Thomas Gronnemark, the throwing coach. In this video, I'll give you a 4-step drill that will improve your own or your players' long throwing. Hi, it's Thomas Gronnemark. For more than 20 years I've been a throwing coach, been part of 15 titles in international football and coached clubs like Liverpool FC, Ajax and Dortmund. When I'm coaching in the clubs, I'm coaching after my long, fast and clever throwing philosophy. But in some of my clubs they focus mostly on the long throwing, like for example FC Midtjylland from Denmark. In FC Midtjylland, the last 5 years I've been there, they've scored 44 goals on long throw-ins. But still, I'm also coaching the long throw-ins in all of my other clubs. Why? There are 3 reasons why long throw-ins are important for both individual players but also for the teams. The first reason is that if you can throw longer, you can have a world-class long throw-in and a really dangerous set-piece weapon. The second reason is that if you can throw longer, you have more counter-attack opportunities, because then you can throw behind the defense more often. And then the third reason is that the longer you throw, the greater throwing area you'll have too, and then you can throw to more teammates on the pitch. So no matter what playing style you have, no matter what type of player or coach you are, it's really important that you or your players are learning to throw a football longer. So take a look at my 4-step drill to increase your throw-in length. Before I come to my 4-step long throw-in drill, I just want to say that I have put a discount code for my throw-in online course down in the description of this video. But before we go on to the 4-step drill, I also just want to say what are the basic mistakes when players are trying to do a long throw-in. The first mistake is that players are just coming to the line and then just standing still like this. This is a big mistake, because when you're coming to the line and standing still, you can't really use your energy efficiently. This is really naturally because a lot of players think that they can't go over the line when they're executing their throw-in. Yes, you can. I'll show you that in a minute. The second general mistake that players are doing when they're trying to do a long throw-in is that they are overbending the body. So they're coming to the line, and then they are overbending. It might look cool that you're overbending with a long throw-in, but it's not efficient. And then the third basic mistake is that some players, they're doing some floppy throw-ins. It means that the ball is just going almost straight up in the air like this. When I'm coaching my players in the long throw-in out in the clubs, most of them are improving 5 to 10 meters, some even up to 15 meters, and that's only with technical improvement. When I'm coaching the long throw-in, I'm focusing on 3 different areas: the power position, the forward energy and the run-in. In those 3 areas, I'm also focusing on 30 different technical parameters, and I'm also using video analysis. In this 4-step drill, I'm focusing on the hip, and the hip is placed in the forward energy area. When you or your players are doing this 4-step long throwing drill with focus on the hip, you actually don't need much equipment. You just need a football and some cones. It's also good to have a fence behind the pitch, because then you don't have to run that far to pick up the ball after every throw. I will also advise you to video record your throw-ins either by camera or by mobile phone. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest mistakes that football players are making when they're trying to do a long throw-in is that they're coming to the line and then they're stopping totally. Actually, we can learn a lot from athletics and javelin throwers, because when they're throwing the javelin, they're not throwing at the line, but they are coming here, then they are throwing, continuing and using the forward energy from, for example, the hip to gain momentum forward. We can actually do the same with a long throw-in, and I'll show you how in this 4-step drill. In this first part of the 4-step drill, we are starting on the line. It's really important to say that the football law says that you're actually allowed to touch the line with your front foot if you want, but I normally recommend to my players that they have the front foot behind the line. But you are actually allowed to do this. We are starting on the line because then it's low intensity and we can start to learn the basic long throwing movements around the hip. So first of all, what many football players are doing is that they're coming to the line with a run-in, but instead of starting with the hip, they're starting with their hands. So they're coming here and then just throwing the ball. No, instead you want to start with the hip. So when you are explaining that to your players, you can either say start with the hip, or you can say move your body forward. So you're coming here in a good position, the ball behind your head, and just standing still in this first exercise. But instead of starting with the arms, you're starting with pushing your hip a little bit or moving your hip a little bit forward. Call it what you want. Go forward, throw, and then you take 1, 2 relaxed steps over the line. So what's really important here is that in this first part of the drill, you should only throw 30 to 40% of maximum. And yes, I know we don't have a button here to regulate that, but it should feel really, really easy. But what's important here is that they're coming from a good position, starting to push their hip forward or lean their body forward. Again, call it what you want, it's the same. And then you have to feel some tension in the body. And then when you release the throw, you take 1 or 2 steps over the line, really relaxed and natural. A really important thing here when we work with the forward energy but also push of the hip in this basic first part of the 4-step drill is that you're sliding your last foot over the ground. It's because you have to have both feet on the ground when you're executing a throw-in. So if you're seeing one of your players lifting the foot, then it's really important to coach that. So again, you do the first drill here, coming from a good position, then you're moving your hip or your body forward, but then at the same time, you're sliding your last foot over the ground. So it looks approximately like this: back, push, throw, and then go over the ground with your last foot. And I'll show it the opposite way so you can easily see my last foot here. Come here, push with the hip, forward, throw. So you have both feet on the ground. It's really important that you try to keep those 30 to 40% here. It shouldn't be a competition neither with yourself or with the teammates, because we want to control the load. We don't want to throw already 80, 90 or 100% here. So this was the basic part of the 4-step long throw-in drill. Now we are coming to the second part of this 4-step long throw-in drill, focusing on the hip. Before we were standing, now we have to walk. It's really important to say that in this and the 2 next drills, don't focus too much on the line or where the players are setting their feet. Because yes, of course, in a match you have to have your feet either on or behind the line when you're releasing the ball. But we don't want the players to look down at the line when they're walking towards it. So we can always regulate that. But in this next part of the drill, we are walking instead. And before we had like 30-40% of maximum in the throw. Now we go up to, yes, around 50%. It's actually the same thing we have to do again. We are standing approximately a couple of meters behind the line. We are ready with the ball. Then we are just walking. When we are coming to the line, instead of just standing still, we are either pushing our hip, you can say that, or you can also just say we are going forward with the body, throw, and then take 1, 2, maybe even 3 steps over the line. Remember to slide your last foot. This looks approximately like this. Now it's time for the third part of this 4-step long throw-in drill. First we were standing, then we were walking, and now we have to be jogging. The reason why we have to jog now is because when we're jogging we can come into the line with more power. So we are standing approximately 3-4 meters from the line. Again, Don't care about if you hit the line perfectly with your front foot. We can always regulate that. But again, take a slow run-in by jogging. Then when we come to the line, trying to find a good position. And then remember to start with your hip, or you can also say start with putting your body forward, release the ball, then you slide your last foot over the ground at the same time. And now you have to be throwing approximately 60-70%. So again, it's not maximum now. So it looks approximately like this. Now we come to the fourth part of this 4-step long throw-in drill. Now we have to run with a normal run-in. What is a normal run-in? Yes, this is really different from player to player, but for sure you have to run faster than jogging, because if you're only jogging to the line, you'll never throw really far. But I'm also working a lot with my players' run-in speed. But again, in this fourth part of this exercise, you have to throw it around 80%. So don't do maximum yet, but you're standing approximately 5-6 meters from the line. Then you're having a good run-in, higher speed than jogging. Then you're coming into a good power position just before you come to the line. And then when you're coming to the line, you're pushing your hip or your body forward when you are executing the throw. And then you're going 2, 3, 4 meters over the line after that. And then you have an efficient transfer of energy and efficient use of the hip. So it looks like this. And remember to slide your last foot over the ground. So how can you do your very first long throw-in technique session with focus on the hip? First of all, you need a solid warm-up. So if you haven't done any football training before, your players or yourself need at least 10 to 15 minutes of general warm-up. If you've been training before, you can skip that. Then you have to do a couple of low intensity throws, then build up with maybe up to 70-80%. Then you can do a test, because it's always funny for the players to see how much they improve. And if they don't do a test before their first technical training, it's really hard to see how much they improved. Then in the training itself, I'll normally say in the first step of the drill, when you're standing, take maybe 4, 5, 6 throw-ins, because it's low intensity, it's not hard. When you do the walking in the second part, you can maybe take 3. Then when you're doing the jogging, take 2 or 3. And then when you do the normal run-in speed, then you can take maybe 2 or 3 again. So, but remember to keep those percentages right, so we don't have a big overload on the body. And then in the end, let the players take maybe 2 or 3 maximum throw-ins, where they can see if they can beat their own record. And it's really important to say that you'll probably meet players, because I do that also, professional players who want to take maybe 10 maximum throws in the end to beat their own record, because again, a lot of them see that they are improving a lot. But again, you have to hold the amount of maximum throws down. So stick it down to 2-3 throws in the test, in the end maximum 4. So this was the build up of the long throw-in technique 4-step drill with focus on the hip. Thanks for watching this 4-step long throw-in technique drill. And remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos around the long, the fast and the clever throw-in. Also remember to take a look at the discount code for my throw-in online course. In this online course, I'm learning you everything around the long, the fast and the clever throw-in. This is a course for coaches, but also for players. The course is already really cheap, but I'm giving you an extra discount. So take a look down there. Here in the end, I want to show you a long throw-in drill that's really motivational, but it's also a good way to train your technique. It's actually just a crossbar drill, so you are just finding a cone, and then you're either putting it quite close so you can do more throw-ins, or try to put it really far out so you can see how far out you can hit the crossbar. But I'll try my best now, and it's really important to say that in 2010 I set the official Guinness World Record with a throw-in of 51.33 meters, so my cone is quite far out. Have a great day.